Welcome Facebook Live, Elyse Southwell here at Nasdaq Market Site for Nasdaq Disruptors. Today we're talking about a very hot issue in 2016, tech buzzword artificial intelligence. We're here with CEO and founder of X.Ai, Dennis Mortensen. Thanks for being here, Dennis.
Thanks so much for having me.
What is X.Ai?
We spent the last 3 years in creating this intelligent agent that can schedule meetings for you. There's nothing new in that. You could hire a human assistant and pay $70K for that, or you can pay an AI $30. So that's us.
So I heard that your company has Andrew and Amy Ingram. Can you tell our viewers who those people are?
So Amy Ingram, and I'm sure you figured out their initials very rapidly, are two agents for where if you and I want to meet up, I can just CC them in. They exist on email. So I just ask Amy, hey, set something up between you and I come first week of February at my office. She then removes me from the conversation and have these very human-like chats with you back and forth, trying to figure out that on February 10th, 25 Broadway for half an hour at my office, we'll chat.
So did Andrew and Amy, did they replace, or are you trying to go up against Siri and Google Assistant?
Not really. I think you want Siri to tell you the time in Singapore or set your alarm for tomorrow morning, 6:20 a.m. But I do think there'll be a whole host of kind of vertical AIs doing very specific tasks or little chores that you just don't want to do. So they'll be general and we'll be hyper-focused. And there'll be me setting up meetings. There'll be a guy who'll turn in your receipts and so on and so forth.
Is having a computer arrange your diary, your schedule, harder than it sounds?
It is very easy to have two machines talk to each other. It's even easier for you and I to chit-chat. It is super hard to have a machine chat to a human, because you immediately figure out that humans, they're just bloody crazy. They say things that are just not true, so ambiguous, left field, and that is hard. We spent 3 years, just launched the product. So 3 years, 90 guys, alone in a basement in the dark.
So how can our viewers out there try X.Ai? Or how would they hear about it?
They should really, if I put on my kind of commercial hat, just go to X.Ai, sign up for a trial, try Amy out for a couple of weeks, get that relief of having to say, you know what, I'll be happy to meet up. I have CC'd in my assistant, Amy. She can help put something on my calendar. And I think most people who haven't had an assistant before, they fall in love with that. And we're not really trying to go after the high-powered CEO who's got an assistant already. It's all the unassisted. You and me, where they're not going to buy us a $90K assistant tomorrow, so we're on our own.
I think it's great. I mean, I think that there's a huge use for it. And people do feel special having help, of course, arranging their diary.
I think there's plenty of things that you and I are smart enough to do ourselves, but we just don't want to do it. It's not that I don't have the ability to go to Whole Foods and pick up my own food and go home. It's much rather order it on Fresh Direct and have it delivered to my apartment. I can certainly set up a meeting. It's not hard. It's just that I don't want to. So please, Amy, you do it for me.
Dennis, you're a serial entrepreneur. Can you tell our viewers how you came up with the idea for your company?
I think any naive entrepreneur will have some lust to go kill the inbox on their list of things to do in the future. And it's just never going to happen. But it's a great fantasy. But I think within that fantasy, we saw that there was certainly a large amount of pain kind of baked into that of setting up meetings. I did the actually very sad thing of counting my own meetings. The year prior to us starting this, I did 1,019 meetings that year, 2012. I had 672 reschedules, and I did it all myself. And I think anybody who goes through that amount of pain wants some relief. And that was really the catalyst.
So you started X.Ai 3 years ago.
Yep.
90 people. How has that process been?
Hard, really hard. I think if you set out to do something which is not a weekend hackathon or 3 months in Palo Alto with Paul Graham, you need to have patience and stamina and all sorts of things to kind of sit there for that long. But it's been super exciting because we just launched a good 40, 50 days ago. So at least we're on the other side now. But it was hard work, very hard work.
Super new, 45 days ago. I mean, you know,
Yep.
new marketing-wise, new. So you have, but there obviously would be a commercial element to this, right? I mean, there's a need, especially for small, medium-sized businesses, I would think, for sure.
Very much. So there's not really any SMB up to 1,000 employees. They'll suggest that, you know what, we need at least 15 assistants to go work for all our VPs or SVPs or director levels and up. That's just not a luxury that we really provide today. So people are on their own. And this provides them for, you know, $39, really access to a luxury that was really only for the few before.
You know what I love about this? You're hiring the assistants for them. So I heard you had 40 artificial intelligence trainers. Can you tell us what an artificial intelligence trainer is?
So if you want to create a new agent for where the machine doesn't just wake up one morning and have the capability to do this one very human-like task, you need to train it. And the way that we've trained it is by going through hundreds of thousands of meetings and millions of emails trying to figure out, when humans say this, what do they really mean? When humans say that, what do they really mean? And do that over and over and over again. And we have now 39 full-time that does nothing but help us interpret what people really mean. And that becomes part of how we train the machine.
So it's almost like you built a natural language processing system.
That's exactly what it is. Spot on. There's really two parts to it, actually. There's the part which you describe, which is a big part of what we do, us trying to understand what did the human just say. But then there's the natural language generation part. How does Amy speak? Which is something where you would not want 40 random engineers to write templates left and right. So we actually ended up, and this is a funny story, hiring this drama major out of Harvard to create Amy the character, so that when you speak to Amy on Monday and on Friday and in 2 months, it feels like the same person. But that's a whole separate part to our system.
Yeah, you know, I think it's like Bina 48 or Bina 49. You know, she's a little sassy, that Bina, you know, that AI woman.
That is something for where creating that persona is something where she can't be too formal, she can't be too casual. She needs to be kind of on the ball, but you need to make up your mind on what exactly is she like. And that we've been crafting again over the last 3 years.
You know, I think that the web, they've went through this exercise. You know, of course, like if you're going to do right, does it mean correct or does it mean right as opposed to left? You know,
yep.
Like, I mean, it's just a different form of this, I guess, in a sense.
Yes, it is. And there's many things for where we need to kind of figure out even something as simple as our reminder logic. I ask you, or Amy asks you on my behalf, hey, can you meet up with Dennis on Friday at 10 a.m.? If you don't reply back, how quickly can she nudge you? As in, not in 10 minutes, then she's just way too aggressive. Not in 2 days, then she's way too lazy. So how do we figure that out? And is that different from people on the East Coast, where we can probably be slightly more aggressive than people in, I don't know, southern Italy? That is just funny creating those characters.
I think it's fabulous. It really is fabulous. The idea that machines are taking place of humans and human jobs even. Can you talk to us about that?
So I think there's kind of two avenues you can walk down here. There's the slightly pessimistic doomsday scenario for where in X number of years, tens of millions of people will be unemployed. And then there's the kind of positive avenue for where, hey, I'm not really trying, if I look at my own vertical, to make any assistant unemployed. I'm just trying to kind of give access to something that you would otherwise not have access to. Kind of democratize a luxury. And I think there's plenty of people for where I would like a driver. That'd be kind of awesome. I don't want to pay for it though, but one day a self-driving car is going to arrive. That will be my driver. But I'm certainly not hiring somebody tomorrow in a suit to drive me around. So I think there's many of these technologies that's just going to democratize access. And it's not going to be this mass unemployment that we might read about in the press sometimes.
The interesting thing, though, when you talk about driverless cars, is that there's an element in artificial intelligence that you have to have trust.
Yep.
So how do you trust machines? And what if there's an error? Who's wrong?
That's a really good question. And what we've seen actually is that many times the machine is not wrong. You're wrong. As in, you say something that you believe to be true, but if you really look into it, no, it's not true. No, that is not the time zone. No, he's not in that location. No, when you say tomorrow at 2 a.m., you really mean today. It's just because you're staying up late. So many times, when we are perceived to be wrong, it's kind of the humans. There's another thing, which is the trust element, and we've seen that over and over again. It takes a little bit of time. For us, if you want a metric, it takes about 13 meetings. If I can get you to schedule 13 meetings with your new assistant, you fall in love. That's what it takes, at least for us, to get to the other side.
But what if they were wrong? So Dennis, we're having coffee at Starbucks, right? We're having coffee at 5 o'clock, just me and you. And all of a sudden, my assistant, my AI assistant, got it wrong. And there I am, drinking my latte all on my yonder. I'm so sad.
So what you describe is kind of what we talk about around the office as the worst case scenario. Me getting up 8 a.m. some Saturday morning, take the train way up to Westchester, and I sit at some diner waiting for a dude, and he never arrives. Amy goes very quickly from being nice to somebody I hate. I said, that's a short distance, right? And what we've seen is that when we do make errors, they tend to self-correct. As in, I thought you were in England. I thought the meeting could be at 9 p.m. I thought many things, and people will immediately say, no, it's at Times Square. No, we can't do that on a Saturday. So many times the system will actually self-correct. Just like if you have a assistant for where she did something which is not right, you just tell her. What you hope, though, is if you tell her, she better remember. Because I'm not going to tell you 10 times, then you're not working here anymore.
And you're out of here.
Yeah, exactly. And this is
you're
the same.
fired.
And we're in the very same setting.
So if I was at Starbucks at 5 o'clock and you didn't show up and I was so sad, I would just email Amy.
And say, what the hell? Or some other version of that, and say, please, can you make sure this is rescheduled for early next week? That shouldn't happen, though, as in you sitting there alone. Usually it's the step before that, for where she set it up for 9 p.m. You immediately email her back saying, I can't do 9 p.m. You know all my meetings are supposed to be before 6. Then she'll change it.
It's so interesting that she can have so much conversation, really. I mean, I know that goes back to sort of the language processing, but I mean, I have used her in scheduling our interview, of course, and it was wonderful. It really was.
And what happens here is
I even got a reminder, by the way, to say, just so you know, it's happening today at 2.
I'll tell you a funny story. So that type of confirmation email is something that we specifically engineered for the American market. So I'm European, and you and me, not that that's better. I actually turned American 5 months ago. That aside.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much. I might have fucked up.
Oh my God.
Yes. That aside, if you and I set up a meeting for 2017, August 10th, you won't hear from me. I will just turn up at your office, August 10th, 2017, because we agreed already. It's very American, and this is not an insult. It's just a funny thing. We'll confirm the meeting 3 weeks prior. Hey, just confirming we're meeting up at your office in 3 weeks. Then the day before, they'll say, hey, just giving a thumbs up. I'll see you tomorrow at 1. It's like, I bloody know. We set it up. You emailed me 3 weeks ago. You email me now. I know. It's on my calendar. So we've had to engineer Amy to be able to participate in that type of culture.
So there really is a cross-cultural research as well you had to do in this 3-year period for launch.
Yes.
So interesting. Really interesting. So what do you think, Dennis, about the future of artificial intelligence outside of Amy and Andrew?
I am overly excited to see us potentially get to a point where we can start do the jobs that we were hired to do. So if you go look at your job and whatever they asked you to do the day you got hired, that set of bullets in that posting.
I'm at work right now, by the way.
And that would be one of the bullets, right? Be slightly snarky. That was bullet number 1, right? And there'll be set of bullets for where that's what we want you to do. If you look at what you really do, there's a whole lot of bullets outside of that list for where it didn't say I should submit my own receipts. It didn't say I should set up my own meetings. It didn't say so many things. I think AI can remove all those little chores so that you and I can actually do what we think is exciting. That this is fun. There's plenty of things around the office which is not as fun as this.
Right. No.
Sadly.
I agree. It's really like cutting the fat. I mean, you know, just making it easier for people to just get on and do their stuff, not be bogged down.
Yeah.
So basically in 20 years, what you're saying is that employees aren't going to be able to have excuses anymore.
I think they'll be slightly happier, do exactly what they set out to do, making a good return for whatever company they work for because they do what they were hired to do. So I'm very optimistic. People can call me naive and all sorts of things, but I believe it.
I think it's wonderful because people will also want to maybe aspire to work harder. The job market will become more competitive, and it will be all the more better. It will be all the more up to them to put their best foot forward always.
And better is not about whether you can submit your receipts in 3 minutes and I take 6 minutes because I'm a bit more anal or vice versa. That's not really a skill you should excel at. That's just a chore. No, I think where we should excel is, our talent. This, right? Real talent, something which we can perfect, not all the other things.
Yeah, it's fabulous. It's really great. So Nasdaq culture is all about ambition, entrepreneurship. You are ambitious. You are a serial entrepreneur. You have a super innovative idea, which is now in market. What advice could you give to our viewers out there that are starting their own companies?
I'm a huge fan of focus. Not focus as a easy to understand term, but hyper-focused, extreme focus, no pivot, do this or die trying type of focus. And that means if you set out to say that I want to alleviate or completely remove the pain of setting up meetings, there is nothing else you should be doing. No, we're not doing travel. No, we're not doing this. No, I won't be submitting your receipts. I'll be setting up your meeting, and we will do just that. No more, no less. It is just so easy to be half-assed at 7 things, and it's just so hard to be really world-class at one thing. And a lot of people are just afraid of being too focused, where they should really be afraid of being too bland. So just focus. Keep making it even tighter. And when you think it's too tight, too small, too timid, then it's right. And
I love that.
And I'm just the guy who sets up meetings. That's really me.
With a genius idea, and everybody's going to be using, the company shortly. Of course they are.
We hope so.
Wow. Thank you, Dennis, so much for being here and talking to us. For our viewers out there, of course, if you want to try this, you could log on to X.Ai and try Amy and Andrew for yourself. I'm Elyse Southwell with Nasdaq Disruptors. Thanks for watching. Have a nice day.